Er løsningen bare at smide alle digitale skærme i havnen? Velkommen til det allersidste og femte episode af videoserien Hjernen i balance. Denne videoserie er lavet med støtte fra Lundbæk-fonden. Mit navn er Maria Jari, så i den her serie har jeg allieret mig med Neuroforsker Macarena for at teste påstanden og finde ud af, hvorfor vores digitale vaner kan være skadelige for hjernen.
We know that too much screen time affects our brains negatively, but how much and what type of screen time is actually dangerous? And how can we change our digital habits?
Vi har set, hvordan algoritmerne kæmper om din opmærksomhed, hvordan skærmlyset snyder din søvn, og hvorfor likes kan føles som en social domstol. Men hvordan samler vi det hele?
Your brain is a high-performance machine, and right now it's being overstressed by tools it wasn't built for.
Det har været super spændende at dykke ned i vores digitale vaner og disses påvirkning af vores mentale helbred. Her i sidste afsnit vil vi prøve at finde svar på, hvordan vi kan få et sundt digitalt liv. Macarena, as a neuroscientist, what do you feel we have learned from this video series?
What we have learned is that the brain is incredibly adaptable. Throughout this series, we have talked about attention, learning, sleep, and social relationships. And one thing keeps coming up. The brain changes in response to how we use it. Our brains evolve to learn, connect, and adapt. But they are also encountering technologies that are more stimulating, more persuasive, and more present in our lives than anything humans have experienced before. It's a story of understanding how brains work, so we can make choices that support our mental health rather than work against it.
That's not just a question for neuroscience, is it?
No, because our relationship with technology is not only shaped by our brains. It's shaped by our friendships, our families, our schools, our workplaces, and the digital environments we live in every day. So maybe the most important question isn't whether screens are good or bad. Maybe it is how do we create a digital life that helps us learn, sleep, connect, and thrive in our lives.
To get a better and deeper explanation, we talked to Stine Liv, who is an expert in kids and teenagers' use of media. Can you introduce yourself?
My name is Stine, and I'm an associate professor at Aarhus University. I study children and young people's use of media in the broadest sense, and I've done so for more than 20 years.
Can you summarize what have you found in your research and what are young people saying about this?
Generally, when we talk to children and young people, they say that they like using social media in particular, but digital tools in general, because it enables them to stay in contact with friends and family, people they like. But they also very often say that it's complicated. Sometimes they feel they spend too much time on these platforms and they would like to spend less time. Sometimes they feel that these technologies is a stressful factor in their everyday life because they have to be available all the time. They have to respond rapidly to notifications and messages and so on. And it also complicates the social relationships, for instance, in a group of friends or in a class.
That's interesting. I was also thinking about like in the 70s or 60s, where comic books were forbidden for children because they would make them stupid, or watching horror movies was bad. Isn't it the same kind of fear we have now with social media or screen time in general?
I think that we can learn a lot from how these discussions about children's relationship to media have been over the decades, but also, going way back many centuries. And there is a lot of similarities in the way we discuss how children should not spend time on media because they should rather do something else. And we have had that discussion about books, and we've had it about the cinema, we've had it about video games, and on and on and on. So I think there is a lot of similarities, and it has to do with the fact, of course, that we love our children and we want the best for them, and we are always worried about what should become of them and how will their future be. At the same time, I think it's important also to think about what is it about social media and those digital platforms that we use today that are problematic, because there is a lot of things that are problematic. They collect our data, they make us spend more time on the platforms that we actually want to, and again they provide especially children and young people with, for instance, body images or content that is not good for them and so on. So there are a lot of issues we should discuss about social media, while at the same time we should also say, okay, the future is here, the world is digitalized, and it will continue like this, and the kids will probably be okay.
So if you were able to, let's say, make a social media adapted for kids and teenagers, will you have some suggestions or like ways of making it more friendly, that we are not that scared?
That is such a good question, and I think that is actually the question we should be asking. How could we design new platforms? Because we need digital platforms to communicate with each other. The world is developed to a point where we need those types of platforms. But maybe it's too late to fix the platforms that we have. Maybe we have been so immersed in the big tech companies that we can't really control that anymore. And especially now also with the rapid development in generative AI and all that, things are happening that might be difficult to control. Also with the connection, especially to American companies, we might want to think about how can we design new platforms that actually take into account the best interest of humans and especially children and young people. What would that look like? Well, we need platforms where we can communicate in a nice manner, but also adapted to children in different age groups. I am quite worried that if we become too restrictive with age verifications and those kinds of things, we will make it very difficult, especially for children and young people who are, for different reasons, in vulnerable positions, to communicate and be part of public debate in society. So we need platforms where that is possible to do without us giving away data to big tech companies and all those kinds of things. And I think we really need to start thinking about how can that be done. And I know people are doing that already in a Danish context, in a European context. It's not easy, but we need to continue that discussion.
I think that's the way, instead of like trying that individually, kids and teenagers do it by themselves. It's too much responsibility.
And that is also one of the big problems with age verification. We've seen it now in Australia, we see some things in the UK, and we will probably see the same in Denmark also, with a much stricter age verification of age 15 or 16 or whatever. I worry that children will then go to other platforms that are not as regulated. Although there are many problems with the big platforms, they are to some extent regulated, and we know how to communicate with them. But they will go to other platforms that are much riskier for them. And instead we would like them to move to platforms that are good for them. It could be platforms where we have good time limits. It could be platforms where content is much more regulated, much more curated, instead of just being a flow of content. It could be platforms where children can only be in contact with people that they know, and they can be given more and more autonomy as they grow older, but when they're quite young, they should only be allowed to communicate with people that their parents have said okay and all that. So I think there's a lot of things we can do. The problem is we need someone to start doing it, and we need people to migrate into these other platforms for them to be interesting to be at. Because when everyone is on Snapchat, why would you want to go to one of the Danish platforms, for instance?
Where does the responsibility lie? Is it within the law regulations, or is it the parents? The platforms are doing as much as they can with like limiting screen time and shielding our profiles with the algorithm, stuff like that. Isn't it like a mix of everything? Maybe parents should also tell their kids how to navigate online, teach them how they should be careful of fake news or AI content.
In a perfect world, yes, that would be really nice. I would like to go back to something you said before. First of all, the platforms are doing a lot, but I am not sure they're doing the best they can. I think they could actually do much more. I know that they take down, tons of content, but we also again and again see those cases where harmful content is not taken down. I remember once Instagram had this function that when you scroll down your feed, you will be told now you have reached the end of your feed and now would be a good time to close the app. Well, that function has been removed again. So are they really doing the best they can? I think that is still a big question. And therefore, I think that there is still a lot to be done via legislation. And that should of course, be done on the EU level. I don't really believe in national legislation a lot on that. Then coming back to the other thing you said, yes, it's a shared responsibility. Parents, of course, have a lot of responsibility because they have responsibility for their children in general. We know that parents have a lot of different abilities to do so, and we know that it depends on their level of education and other things. There would be some big social differences in which parents are actually able to make those kinds of restrictions and dialogue in everyday life and so on. I think parents should be educated much more, and we should really support them in doing that. But we also need to have much more focus on digital literacy, computational thinking, all those kinds of things in schools. And I think all children should have the right to be properly educated within this area. There's a lot of different actors in this area who all have a responsibility. People like you, content creators, but also traditional media also have a big responsibility in talking about these matters and also doing it in a less alarmistic way, to talk about these things in a nuanced manner so that people actually feel that they can do something themselves. We know from research that the feeling of being able to take care of your own digital life is so impactful and has such a great importance on your well-being that it even balances out the negative influences of screen time. So if you feel that you are actually able to do something about your digital life, you can curate your feed, you can decide when you want to stop using the platforms. That is actually so much more powerful than the negative impact of perhaps using your screen technologies for a prolonged period of time. And I think that's something that we tend to overlook, and sometimes it's also been seen as a naive idea that we can only focus on education, but I would always say that we have to do both. We have to regulate and use legislation. We also have to build new platforms, and we also have to educate both children and adults. I sometimes say that we should have more screen time at the dinner table. And by that I don't mean we should be watching our screens while we eat, but I think we should have more discussions about our digital lives in the family setting. And we should have that in schools as well. We should have that in leisure clubs, all these kinds of things where adults can actually continue these discussions with children, can talk about how are you doing on Snapchat, just as they would do how are you doing at the football team or something like that. So how is your digital life? How is it going? And instead of parents or teachers being very restrictive or threatening to take away the phone if something bad happens, then we should continue having these discussions so that we build children's and young people's trust in themselves, that they can be part of a digital society.
Then what we need is like transferable skills, like for example, critical thinking, or like how to be responsible of your own time, or and that
how to be a good friend.
How to be a good friend either online or in real life.
Yeah, absolutely. And we need to think more about what we have in common than whether or not we as parents understand the latest brain rot trend or whatever. That it might not be as necessary. But it might be more necessary that we allow children to come to us and have an open discussion about these things, instead of just dismissing it and saying it's irrelevant or it's stupid, your brain will melt or whatever. We should allow them to come and talk to us about what interests do they have.
I totally agree with that, and I think that we're not talking so much about it as we should with each other, with the media and how screen time is being portrayed. I just miss some more nuances. Like I think it's really refreshing to hear you speak about how it isn't necessarily bad or negative. We just have to find a way to be healthy with the screen time. What do you think could help maybe teachers or parents or families to talk more about the digital use? Like, what can we do better?
I think it's a matter of being a bit more open and curious, asking the children or the young people in your family or If you have a professional relation to them, again, ask them how they're doing. Maybe tell them, well, I saw this video on YouTube, or I read this article about Italian brain rot. Don't be afraid that you might look a bit like a boomer, but show the young people that you have a genuine interest in how they're doing without being sneaky or taking over their social life, because of course as they grow up they also need privacy. But try to open an honest and curious discussion with the young people that you meet, because most kids would really like to talk about these things because it matters to them.
Yeah.
Play games with your children, watch social media together, show each other funny memes or whatever, to open that discussion. And then if something really bad happens, and sometimes that is the case, there is a good reason to believe that then they would also be more eager to come to you and show you and ask for your advice.
What will you tell to the kids and the teenagers?
I would like to tell them that we love them and that we would like to help them, that we would like to stand by them, but sometimes we need a little bit of help to open up, and that they should not be so critical towards adults. They should also trust us, because we really like to talk to them, and maybe we can all learn something from each other.
Stine Livs vigtigste pointe er handleevne. Det handler om at kuratere sit eget feed og turde sige, nu stopper jeg, fordi du vil det, ikke fordi din mor siger det. Sociale medier er i dag en fuldt ud anerkendt måde at opretholde vigtige relationer på, men brugen burde afbalanceres med fysisk samvær for at bevare evnen til direkte øjenkontakt og aflæsning af kropssprog. Selvom de digitale redskaber muliggør tætte forbindelser, oplever mange unge et pres for konstant at være tilgængelig og svare hurtigt, hvilket kan føre til stress og følelsen af at miste kontrol over sin tid. En af de stærkeste faktorer for digital trivsel er oplevelsen af handlekraft. Evnen til selv at kunne kuratere sit feed og beslutte, hvornår man vil stoppe, har vist sig at kunne opveje de negative effekter af selve skærmtiden. Derfor er det afgørende, at familier integrerer det digitale liv i den daglige dialog, med nysgerrigheden frem for blot at bruge restriktioner. Samtidig er ansvaret delt, hvor skolen må sikre alle børn en grundlæggende digital dannelse for at mindske social ulighed, mens platformene bør regulere strengere via lovgivning.
As you can see, we have evolved into a digital age where screen time and digital technologies is both a necessity and something we sometimes need to limit and control, so it doesn't manipulate us.
Vi håber, at du med denne indsigt er i stand til at passe på din mentale helbred og tillægge dig bedre digitale vaner. Vi håber også, at det har nuanceret debatten om, hvor skadelig skærmtid egentlig er, og hvorfor det er vigtigt, at vi både ser det positive og negative, når vi skal hjælpe og beskytte hinanden.
If you would like us to make more videos about digital habits and mental health, explained through neuroscience, please let us know in the comments. We need your help to make more projects like this.
Så hvis du har fundet ud af den her serie og vil gerne hjælpe os med at lave mere, så håber jeg, at du vil bruge et par minutter til at skrive i kommentarfeltet. Det er super vigtigt, at du deltager, så vi kan vise, at budskaberne når ud og gør en forskel. Så skriv endelig.
See you in the next season, hopefully.